Welcome to this episode of the GymInformer podcast. I'm Chris Gilbert, your host for this episode. And today our guest is Joe Corbett, the owner of House of Pain Gym in the St. Louis, Missouri area. This is really a badass gym. I'm super excited to talk to Joe about it. But before we get started, let me take a pause and I'll show you the photos I took while I was at the gym. Joe, I'm really excited to talk to you about your gym. But before we get into that, how did you get started becoming a gym owner? What was your path?
Yeah, Chris, great to be with you. Thanks for this opportunity. This is awesome. I have other businesses. I have a wealth management company that I've had for 34 years, and we're a family business. And the gym has always been a big part of my life. I've been competing since I was in my early 20s. Had 5 kids in 10 years, and then compete for about 15 years. At age 40, I started competing again, earned my IFBB Pro card. I'm in my 60s now. I still compete. So the gym has always been a big part of my life, and I wanted to create the gym environment that I always wanted to train in. There's been some great gyms that I've trained in, some mentors that I've had over the years in St. Louis. And then, which is where I'm from. I also have residence in Florida and spent a lot of time there. And Kissimmee Muscle in Kissimmee, Florida, John McGrail has just an unbelievable gym down there. There have been other gyms, the Metroflex gyms, Brian Dobson, and gyms that I've trained in that I just love the environment. The equipment is very important. But the thing that's huge to me is a family atmosphere, an atmosphere that you go in and truly there's no attitude or judgment, not like the big box gym that says there are no judgment zones,
Right.
Full of judgment. So I wanted to create that space, and I knew that we wouldn't have 15,000 members like the big box gyms, but we get the people we should get. We get the serious bodybuilders, power lifters, strong men. We have great communities for each of those areas, and then also just general fitness, just regular people. But all of the people that come into our home is they have one thing in common, and that's that they want results. They're there to train. We have little things like we don't allow tripods on the gym floor. We don't allow cell phone use on the gym floor. Those are things that are really hard to control. But we have signs everywhere. If we see you, we're going to ask you to step off the gym floor if you're on the phone. But I used to train at a Gold's, and every time I was in there, there was a guy that watched movies on the equipment that I wanted to use. And leg press watching a movie, really? How many more sets can I work in with you? No, I'll be done in a minute. And he'd sit there for another 20 minutes. That's not the kind of atmosphere that we wanted to create. We wanted to create an atmosphere for the serious athlete that wants results.
Oh, 100%. Nice. Now, you used to have 2 gyms, and now you have one bigger gym. And the equipment that you have in your gym is pretty vast, but I've heard rumors that you have a ton more in storage. And I can imagine that taking 2 gyms and combining them down into one, how did you make the decision these are the pieces that are going to go into this gym?
Man, that's a great question. So we had a gym that was 11,000 feet. square feet in Chesterfield Valley. It was right across the highway from our new location, which is spectacular. The new location is awesome. The gym that we had, we called it our North Gym. It was in Maryland Heights, Missouri. That was about 24,000 square feet. So it was big. It was an old Gold's. When Gold's pulled out of St. Louis, we acquired that space. The space we're in now is about 16,500 feet. So coming from 11,000 and 24,000, all of the equipment in those two gyms, consolidating into one gym was difficult. But to make things even more difficult, Chris, we sell equipment. House of Pain Equipment Sales is a company that we started in 2018. And we are dealers for Watson equipment out of the UK in the US. Very proud of that. Watson's a great company, good people to work with, and equipment that doesn't break. It's fantastic. And so through our sales, equipment sales, if we're extracting equipment from gyms and they're upgrading with new Watson equipment or whatever, and we're extracting the old equipment. I have a warehouse that's about 11,000 square feet, and it's full of equipment, both new Watson equipment that we inventory, and also some old vintage pieces, which I don't really consider myself a collector. I have friends that have helped me a lot. Ron Norman up in New York, certainly John McGrail I mentioned in Florida. I bought some equipment when Suncoast Fitness in St. Petersburg closed. That was one of my favorite gyms to train. So I have equipment there, and trying to decide what to put in the new space was really difficult. So I just call it the best in class. I have a lot of new equipment from Watson and Panetta. Don't think much of I'm kind of a purist when it comes to equipment. Don't think much of a lot of the new equipment manufacturers. I think biomechanically it's not good. And but I do think a lot of Watson. I think Panetta has some good pieces. And then I have the best of class in the old equipment. We have Flex and Nebula and Body Masters and Magnum and all the old equipment that you would recognize in the gyms from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. And I just look for the pieces of equipment that biomechanically make the most sense. And Chris, we're all built differently, and I have 19 chest presses in my not 2 or 3 like the big box gyms, but I want something to fit everyone, and there's lots of different angles to work and injuries to work around. So I really, it was tough to discern what goes in the new space, but and we're still trying to figure it out. I move stuff out and move equipment in all the time, and it's a work in progress, but it's definitely a passion for us.
Yeah, I can see that, because we were just doing back the day we were there, and there were so many different pieces to choose from. And it was interesting you say that you want to make sure there's a piece for everyone. Like, we were doing lat pull downs and we were using different pieces. I think you have like 4 different lat pull down, plate loaded lat pull down machines.
6.
And each of us liked a different one.
Yeah.
So,
we have 6 lat pull downs. That doesn't include the cables. So
I loved the prime one, and Jason loved an old school, I think it was a Magnum or
biangular.
Yeah. And then Brandy loves this. We were training with Brandy that day, and she loves the pure old hammer strength one. So so everybody has their own opinion, and everybody loves like what they love. So it's awesome that you have like a good selection of each piece. So
absolutely. So the pull downs you mentioned, we have an old Flight. This is
that was awesome. I love that one.
Isn't that great the way that moves? So that was before Precor bought them, Precor, and so that's a great piece. We also have the Rogers version of the pendulum pull down. I didn't count the hammer strength. We have actually 3 hammer strength variations of the pull down also.
Yeah, there was a lot of pull downs. So Yeah. So that was awesome. I also loved the atmosphere. Like, not every gym that I've been to puts as much effort into atmosphere as even I think they should, let alone how much to the level that you've put into the atmosphere. You've put a lot of effort into the atmosphere, and I greatly appreciated that. Like, so how did you decide? Just for those who haven't seen it, there are murals of like old school bodybuilders all over the walls, and then there's huge like sayings and things on the walls just to keep you motivated. Like, how did you decide like this is somebody who's going on the wall?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question too. So when I grew up reading, Flex magazine and muscular development, muscle and fitness,
Right.
the old Iron Man mags. And, I grew up watching guys like Menser and certainly Dorian as time went on, but
Mm-hmm.
Menser and Arnold and Franco Colombo and guys that, Rory Liedlmeyer, who was never a pro, but he was in all the magazines. And by today's standards, he'd be one of the best pros,
Yeah.
back then, I think there was, I don't know, somebody's going to correct me, maybe one or two, maybe three pros a year that would earn their pro status. Now it's many more.
Mm-hmm.
Sport is much bigger than it was, but I have Serge Nubret and Danny Padilla and certainly Tom Platz and people like that, Rachel McClish. These were all physiques that I greatly admired growing up. There's also guys like Flex Wheeler and Kevin Levrone and Bob Paris, I love Paris's physique, and Charles Claremont, and a lot of the younger guys will recognize Menser. Menser's big now again. It's so funny how
Right.
big.
Yeah. It was just super cool seeing them walking around the gym and just seeing them all on the wall. It was super cool.
Yeah. The cool thing though too, Chris, is like younger guys will ask, who's Charles Claremont? Like they've never seen him before. And then I'll go into, his story, his journey. And they'll be like, oh yeah. And then, the next time I see him in the gym, they'll be like, man, I watched a YouTube video of that guy. He's a great poser, So I think it really gets, the generations to appreciate where the sport came from. They think it's maybe Sam Sulek, the influencer now. Man, that's where bodybuilding started. Well, that's not where bodybuilding started. It started decades ago, and
Right.
to try to get some of the other generations to appreciate that was sort of my goal. Those were the guys that started it all.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciated it. I thought it was really cool. And then even just the sayings you have on the wall, I thought were super cool too. So it was a ton of effort put into the atmosphere, which I absolutely appreciated. So that was very cool.
Thank you.
And we don't usually talk about organization, but you definitely had it organized the exact way that a gym should be organized. Everything's by body part, whether, and even with the body part, you even had it organized by the type of body part that you're hitting.
Absolutely. Yeah, we put a little bit of thought into how we should set this up. I grew up in George Turner's gym. I don't know if you ever heard of George Turner, but in St. Louis, it was sort of iconic. And he trained a lot of the old bodybuilders. Tony Pearson was one of his clients, and he was in our gym regularly. He would fly in, I think, from California. And, a number of other pretty high-level pros. And so this little gym in North County of St. Louis, Missouri, we had access to all these great athletes. And that was a world-class gym. It really was. And then a guy by the name of Greg Tuck purchased it and rebranded it as Physique World. And so when I say that, I learned from a lot of good people along the way, I really had some great mentors in the business. And I saw firsthand how people did things, and you take what you want from it.
Right.
Like some setups, you don't like other setups. Some setups don't make sense from one standpoint, so you don't do that. You do what you think makes the most sense. And I don't have all the answers. Like I said, we're still learning, we're still figuring things out. But we are always trying to improve. I just bought a Avenger leg extension, MedX Avenger leg extension.
Nice.
Equipment. And I got rid of a leg extension that we had that was pretty good. It was pretty popular and a lot of people liked it. Interestingly enough, there was 2 leg extensions side by side that were exactly the same. I got rid of one of them, and they were just different colors. And you're always going to get those members. Why'd you get rid of that? I love that piece. Well, there's an exact duplicate of that piece right next to it. Why like that one? But this that we replaced it with is such an extraordinary piece of equipment that it didn't take long for people to catch on that, it was a better option. It offered a lot more than the other piece. And I just use that as an example because we're constantly doing that. We're constantly trying to get better and upgrade.
Yeah, and it's funny how different pieces hit for different people, and some people will love one piece and some people love a different piece. And, like I've learned, like I don't usually love hack squats, but for some reason, the Body Master Gen 1 hack squat is just money for me. Love that piece. Every time I see it, I got to use it. Now, the funny thing is like the Gen 2 one is still a good hack squat for most people. Doesn't work for me. Don't like it. So it's just something about that Gen 1 Body Master piece. Just absolutely love it.
I like your choice.
So we talked a lot about what you're doing really well in the gym, and there's a ton of things you're doing really well. Is there anything that you feel like you could be doing better?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we're not great at sales. we didn't give much thought to the sales process, and we built our business more organically. Mm-hmm. It's word of mouth. We do have a good social media presence, and we have a lot of members that share in that. Instagram, Facebook is House of Pain, Chesterfield. But the sales process, as I think, is important. And the other thing is the training. We've not really been able to get that right. We have a big competitive bodybuilding community, powerlifting and strongman. Those guys don't need personal training, but right. we do have a growing segment of our membership that is just general fitness, that they love the environment, they love all the equipment, and they love the structure that we give the gym because there's not the bros hanging out on the equipment that they want to use.
Right.
We put our plates away, we put our weights away, we clean the equipment after use. We constantly preach gym etiquette, and so that segment of the business is growing. And although we do have trainers, we have a few trainers. I go to big box gyms and they have 10 on the floor, and they're clearly labeled, trainers. We need to be better at that. And I think we have very qualified people, but as that segment of our business grows, we need to do better. We need to be able to offer them what they're there for.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, and most of those big box gyms have to label their trainers because they don't look like trainers. So they got to make sure they label them.
You said it, Chris.
That always bothers me, seeing trainers that obviously don't practice what they preach.
I agree.
So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was, so you've gone from, you had a really big gym and a medium-sized gym. Now you've got what I think is about the perfect size gym. I love the 15, 18,000 square foot gyms.
Great.
But having gone from 2 to 1, are you happy with where you are? Is there ever going to be another second House of Pain? Are you looking to go back to a bigger space at any point? Like, what's the future of House of Pain?
Man, that's a great question. We are contacted pretty consistently about licensing the name or franchising the whole business. One of the things from a business standpoint that I wanted to do from the onset was unlock every square inch of space in the gym to potentially be a revenue source. It's hard to make money in the gym business, I think, personally. Mm-hmm. it's not like other businesses where the margins are really high. And, I mean, rent is super high. If you buy a new piece of equipment or you're buying cleaning supplies, you got to sell a lot of memberships to fund that,
Right.
So we sell. House of Pain was an apparel brand. When we bought the intellectual property, we opened the gym, created the equipment sales company to sort of ancillarily synergize the business. So we have an online houseofpain.com e-commerce store for the apparel, does really well globally. But we sell a lot of about $5,000 a month on average of just t-shirts in our gym now. So there's an opportunity to franchise this maybe at some point. We do make money. We are positive cash flow. I think it's a good story. And so to answer your question directly, I think we will franchise at some point. And we have a great model. For me to open another business, another gym, it would be difficult because of the other businesses that I have.
Right.
Just don't have the bandwidth. And I don't want to dilute the brand. I want it to remain, when you come into our gym, you're always going to get the same type of music playing. It's always going to be a certain volume. You're going to have the best attitude of any employee at the front desk. At least you're better. You're going to get hugs and high fives and whatever, because it's a great place for people to leave their BS outside the door and come into this sanctuary to do what they do an hour each day or an hour and whatever time frame they commit to. So the consistency and the purity of the brand is what I'm most protective of. And I don't think that I'll open another gym personally, but I think you'll see more House of Pain gyms in the future down the road in other cities.
Cool. That it would be exciting to go see one. So hopefully that'll happen soon, especially if you're got the input to this is what it has to be, which you can with the franchise, from what I understand about franchising anyway.
Yeah. We've been approached, like I said, by a few people, and actually talking to one right now about doing something in the Southeast. But you got to have capital to start something like this. And
100%.
And I think a lot of people, they go into this thinking one thing, and that's not really the case. I mean, you have to have capital. You have to really commit to the long term, because you're not going to make money the first few years. At least that's been my experience. And you have to be there, or have somebody that you implicitly trust there present at the gym to make sure that the branding is what it's supposed to be and the atmosphere is what it's supposed to be. And I think those are the important things.
Oh, and I think you're right. You have to be there. Like if I go to a gym, I say this all the time, but I think it's so true. Like if I go to a gym and I'm like, what do you guys think about Joe? And nobody knows who Joe is, it's probably a crappy gym.
Yep.
So if the owner is not present, then nobody thinks the owner cares. And if the owner doesn't care, the members don't care. The owner's present, showing up, working out in the gym. He's ever vigilant, creates that atmosphere, creates that culture. Everyone cares, and the members will police the gym. But you've got to be there. So I think that's sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, I was sorry I missed you when you came into town. But I try to greet everyone that comes in my gym when I'm there. I try to know all of the members and meet the new members that come in. And I think that's important. And I think that's why we have the culture we have.
Oh, you 100%. Like the gym owners can create that culture through the members, and the members will keep it going. Like
Brandy is a perfect example of that. She's such a great ambassador for us.
Oh yeah, she speaks so highly of the gym.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So very cool. So you've owned a gym for a while now. One of the question we always ask before we get off the podcast is, do you have any advice for anyone that's thinking about owning a gym?
I do. If you're going to compete with the big box gyms, you better have a big bank account. So if that's your intention, you better be well capitalized. If you're not going to compete um, with the big box gyms, then find your niche, find your customer who you want to serve, and go into the gyms in the city that you're going to open the gym and talk to people. What do you like about this place? What don't you like about this place? Do your due diligence. Talk to people in the community and see what's missing. And I think through that, for me, there are other gyms in St. Louis that are in our space. When I started House of Pain, there weren't many. There were a couple, but not like there are now. So we were kind of first. I want to say it the right way. We were kind of first to serve our market with something more. And when I say something more, there's not many gyms around, at least in the Midwest that I know of, that have a posing room for bodybuilders with mirrors all over and angled mirrors so you can see your back shots, stage lighting, powerlifting that has all of the competition racks. The first thing I did when I bought the Gold's Gym is I threw away I didn't throw them away. I'm sorry. I sold them, every bar in the place. They bought these cheap American barbell bars that were $100. And I bought powerlifting bars from Kabuki and Ghost and Eleiko and the best bars that I could find, Texas Strength. And I got Ohio bars and bars that for every federation of powerlifting that they use and any bar that I thought a powerlifter would want to use. I bought kilo plates and the best racks I could find. And, for strongman, I had some help from a high level strongman competitor named Mike Sidwell. And he directed me on what to buy there. And Strongman Corporation is actually based in St. Louis. So
Nice.
Them, I was able to buy some of their equipment that they used for their competitions. And so we wanted to, again, be the best equipped gym in anywhere, to be honest.
That was great.
I have equipment that, we bought a whole line of Prime equipment. That's the first purchase I made. And so I just give it some thought, think through the business model and put on paper, just do an Excel spreadsheet. How am I going to make money? How am I going to keep the doors open? And just try to account for every scenario that you can think of and go forward, burn the boats, man. Like you do this, do it.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you. I didn't have any other questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell people about House of Pain?
No, I just want to say thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So awesome. I mean, what you provide for our community is really valuable.
Well, I don't know if you've seen my story or not, but I feel like locally owned gyms have given me back my life. So I'm just trying to do whatever I can to help locally owned gyms compete against the big boxes.
I love that, man. Thank you.
So, well, thank you for being so hospitable. And this was great.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Thanks.
I'll see you soon. Come back to the House of Pain. I got to come back when I'm there, please.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Okay. I'll buy you a protein shake.
Love that.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more great content.